DPAC has done a tremendous amount during its first year of existence, especially for an organisation with no staff and minimal or no resources in reality. And I think when you compare DPAC with what some of the other organisations that are far better resourced have done, frankly they should be ashamed of themselves. Disabled Against the Console, DPAC is a fledgling organisation. We're still learning how to do things, as you can tell today. But I think we need to bear with one another and bear with DPAC, because we will work together to make it work. And that's the difference. We as disabled people are used to that. Now yesterday, we were told that directors' pay has gone up by an average of 49% for the second year running. So it's doubled over the past 2 years. Private sector workers' pay has gone up by 2.5% on average, yes, which actually equals a cut due to inflation in fuel and food and so on. Public sector and voluntary sector pay, some of you here who are working, most of us I think, most of the people who are here today, if we're working or employed mainly, not entirely, but mainly in the public and voluntary sector, and we know that pay has not increased at all. In fact, for many, it's actually gone down in order that people can keep their jobs. So, what is this struggle of DPAC all about? Well, I'm afraid I'm going to be a little bit controversial, maybe not, I don't know. But it is not about big charity business keeping their funding. Why, when the disabled people's movements were at their strongest, was its key demand, and as it built into DPAC's constitution, that we have rights, not charity. It is surely not okay for disabled people to have to go to charity, cap in hand, to have our needs met. We should not have to beg or be grateful for enough money to live in order to make ends meet. We should not have to be grateful or beg for accessible information, for wheelchairs or other equipment to live independently. We should not have to beg or be grateful for the human support we need to live our lives, for accessible transport, for decent housing to live in as disabled people. We should not have to beg to use segregated or so-called special services, which are in reality second-rate or inferior services. We should not have to beg for equal access to jobs and services, which ought to be our right as disabled people. The Condems are ushering in, or reinforcing really, something that was begun by New Labour, a revival of the notions of deserving and undeserving poor people. And charity makes us compete for public sympathy with others who are portrayed as deserving or less deserving causes than we are as disabled people. We do not have common cause or common interest with those who need to perpetuate our oppression in order to keep their jobs. We do not have common cause with those who beg on our behalf without our permission. And this is not about fighting to keep funds for the big businesses that run the charities today, unfortunately including the one we're in today. This fight is not about saying we are affected more than or worse than others who are under attack from the Condems and, I have to say, New Labour. We are not, by definition, the most vulnerable, or, in substitute your own phrase there. Such a divide and rule approach plays directly, I would argue, into the hands of the Condems. We do not have common cause with, I should say, I wish I could read properly, sorry. We do have common cause with trade unionists facing attack and facing the sack because services are being cut and because services are being privatised. We do have common cause with trade unionists fighting for better pensions for all, We do have common cause, as the last speaker said, with trade unionists fighting against ATOS, which is not only attacking disabled people on benefits, but is now also being used by the government to discipline and sack public sector employees on health grounds. That's what ATOS are doing in the public sector. We have common cause with PCS, that's Civil Service Union members, who are being sacked as a result of the work of ATOS. We have common cause with people having to wait for NHS treatment and with those whose GPs say that their needs are too expensive. We do have common cause with social and private housing tenants being evicted due to cuts in housing benefit. We do have common cause with people who are desperately in need of more and better social housing. People who can't afford the inflated fuel prices. People who need legal aid in order to fight injustice. We do have common cause with people who can't get advice or advocacy because those services are being cut or reduced. We do have common cause with the 1 million young people looking for work at this moment. We have common cause with people unable to afford the privilege that is now apparently a privilege of higher education, as again the last speaker said. So, DPAC should justifiably be proud, I think, of its achievements and of being, as far as I'm aware, the first mainstream national campaign against injustice led by disabled women and controlled entirely by disabled people. We, disabled people, are in all of the groups affected by the coalition attacks. Many will try to divide or weaken our campaigns. Our opponents will try every possible tactic with divide and rule, even perhaps in the future within DPAC itself. Cameron says we are all in this together. Well, we are. We, older people, trade unionists, tenants, jobless, students and disabled people are all in it together. We must work together to defeat these attacks. These are our services. These are our benefits. These are our taxes that we pay for when we work, or when we buy things in the shops, or when we live our daily lives. These are our hard-won rights that they are trying to take away from us. We must struggle alongside all others facing these attacks, as this, in my view, and I think in the view of most of you here today, if not everyone, is the only way that we will win. Thank you.